Hello and welcome back to my channel, The Gravel Road, which is all about bikes, cycling and all the wonderful stuff that goes with it. Today is the 26th of October. It's day 4 on my sort of prep for Red Bull time lapse. It's actually only training ride 3, although I was planning to do a ride every day. You'll see from my training ride 2 video, which if you pop over and have a look at that, didn't go quite well, wasn't feeling too great. Turned out after I'd had a bath and went to bed, I kind of felt a bit ill that night, almost like a cold was coming on. So I was right to stop. And then yesterday was okay. Didn't really get a cold or anything, but definitely wasn't 100%. So just decided to take a day off the bike and not push it, because at the end of the day I've got this event Saturday through to Sunday, Red Bull time lapse, and best to keep the suffering and everything for those 2 days. So, gonna head out for, I don't know, a couple of hours, maybe just a couple of hours, possibly a few, but just see how it goes. Just gonna get some time on the bike just to go out. It's about 20 to 8 at night, so again, it's just deciding to go out, you know, when I could be sitting in front of the TV. It's really windy tonight, probably the windiest night, but the temperature's quite good. It's quite warm actually, but because it's so windy and it's a bit wet, I'm just gonna head out on the gravel bike rather than hit the road bike, and just go for an explore around, try and stay in the trees, try and stick out of some of this wind until I get it on my back and I can get a bit of a tailie coming home, possibly. Depends which route I go. I might go actually with the wind behind me to start with and then snake my way back, keeping out of the wind. So before I go, I thought I'd just give you a quick run over my gravel bike setup, not the gravel bike itself. There's actually an unboxing video about the gravel bike. It's quite long, but then, you know, when you're unboxing a bike and getting it set up, these things take time. So if you're interested in unboxing videos and you're interested in gravel bikes, and particularly, you know, this Cannondale bike, because a lot of people look at these bikes, and there's quite a few people commented and said they found the unboxing quite useful, and I've answered a bunch of questions. So definitely go over and have a look at that and give it a like if you like it, and leave us a comment if you've got any questions as well. But for now, I'll just give you a quick run over my setup in terms of like what I put on the bike, what I take with me for a typical gravel ride. So this is my bike. It's a Cannondale Topstone 1 aluminium. Like I said, I'm not going to go through the actual bike itself. You can see it's a bit muddy, but that's pretty much how gravel bikes should look, I would say. So starting with lights. So on every ride, pretty much, whether I'm on the road or on the gravel bike, if it's going to be dark at all, I'll have 2 lights on. These are battery powered, which I think is a lot better than USB charged ones, because they always seem to run out when you don't want them to. But the good thing about these is you can carry a bunch of batteries with you and change them out if you need to, but the batteries just last so long. It's unbelievable. And they're quite common size. They're like CR2032 or something like that. Very common size of battery. You get the same batteries in like heart rate monitors and things. And a bit of a tip, if you go to Home Bargains, you can get like a pack of 6 for 99p. So they're super cheap, and I always carry like a pack of 6 with me just in case. But to be honest, I don't think I've ever had to change them out on a ride. It's always been like when I get home, I see they're maybe a bit dim. They've certainly never run out. They just need change when they're a bit dim. So that's the back lights. Obviously water bottles, so I typically always carry 2 water bottles no matter how long a ride it is. 2 bottles will keep me going for good 3 to 4 hours if I need to. Typically I'll take half and half cranberry and Lucozade Sport with a bit of water in it, so a bit of carbs in there, but sometimes I'll just take the cranberry. Again, another tip, I buy Ocean Spray cranberry juice in big packs from Costco. It's quite cheap, it's quite cost effective for getting carbs and that on the bike. And the bonus is, if you're not going out on the bike and you've got a bit of vodka in the house, you can mix it with your cranberry juice. It's quite tasty. So obviously got the head unit, Garmin 830 with a bunch of segments on it. Got a main light. I've got a couple of these that they just slide off. These are really quite good lights for that. You know, you just have a universal adapter and you just slide it on. But I also have a backup light, and the reason for this one primarily is if you're riding along, this happens sometimes, and the light suddenly goes off, it runs out of battery. or you don't notice it's going down, it's nothing worse than cycling along at like 15-20 mile an hour and the light goes off and you're just suddenly in the dark. So great to have a spare light, so you can just batter this on until such time as I can get the main one changed, and then I keep this is like an emergency light really. So if I ran out of all my main lights, I'm typically going to be able to get home on that one. And if worst came to worst and I just needed to be seen, I would bung one of the back lights on the front as a sort of an emergency contingency type thing. So that's kind of everything I've got on the bike. Then when I'm going for a gravel ride, it really doesn't matter how long it is, I always take a backpack, because I don't know, it's just something I always do. Obviously you're not too worried too much about aerodynamics and things, so in the bag, depending on the ride, but I'll have more or less stuff, but generally I'll have a bunch of food, some spare clothes, spare gloves. I even have like an emergency bitty at the back here, which has got a rag in it for sort of drying things off, a balaclava, and in here somewhere there's like a wee toilet roll, because you never know when you're going to get caught, sure. And then also in here as well I carry all my bike tools, my hand pump and spare inner tubes. So none of that's on the bike, as you can see, it's all in here, and it doesn't really hinder you. But if I was on my road bike, I would typically have bags on the bike and just carry stuff on me, just to keep things a bit more lightweight. So yeah, that's pretty much the setup. Before I go out on a ride, I pretty much always check the tyre pressure. It could be a few days or whatever between rides on a given bike, but it doesn't really matter if I've been out the day before. I always check my tyre pressure, because with them being tubeless, they do tend to go down a bit. So it's always good just to go a quick check with the pump and make sure the pressures are good. So on the back, these are 43mm Panaracer Gravel Kings. I typically ride them at about 30 psi, maybe a little bit less if I'm going mainly off-road. The front one is actually a 37mm WTB, I think it's a Riddler, and that's sitting at about 38-40 psi. Usually I have two Panaracer Gravel Kings on generally, but I got a puncture in one, so I just put on that as a temporary measure. So if you've got any questions on gravel biking, gravel bikes, setup, what to take with you, how to plan routes, any of that kind of stuff on gravel biking, because it's quite a new subject and a lot of people are looking at whether or not they should buy a gravel bike or a road bike, possibly for the first bike as well. So there's always quite a lot of questions, lots of questions on tyre width and pressures and all manner of different things. Fire them down in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them, and if I don't know the answer I'll try and find out, and if there's a common theme of questions I'll try and touch on some of the answers in future videos. So without further ado, better get cracking, and I'll maybe do a few videos along the way and I'll touch base at the end just to like update how far I've gone, how I feel, that kind of thing, as I've done with the other training rides. See you later. Bit of an in-ride update, just a few miles from my house really, maybe 15 minutes or so, and over through a place called Kemnay, and just outside of Kemnay there's a place called Castle Fraser, and that's where I'm at. And if I just put the light on the back here, you'll kind of see. Unfortunately it's not lit, but you can get an idea here. Look, there's a big turret, and this is one of the many castles in Scotland. And for anyone who's not from Scotland or hasn't been here, basically there's just castles everywhere. It's hard to go on a bike ride actually without passing some sort of castle that's 300, 400 or 500 years old. Lots of history. So if you come to Scotland and you take your bike, you can be sure of lots of things to see. Anyway, I'm going to carry on now, doing a pretty good job of avoiding the wind. I hit it on the road, but apart from that, I've been in the trees and stuff, so nice and sheltered, but still heading out into the wind. And where am I heading? Basically heading south, and then I'm going to skirt along inland west, try and hit some of the fire tracks and stuff, and then head around towards a place called Benahee, which is a local mountain range here. And then out towards Invaruary, where my mum lives. Zoom about there for a bit and just mess about until I get bored, then go home. Right, we'll no doubt catch up very soon. What's up? Train ride 3, check-in number 2, and I am, where am I? I'm just outside a place called Monymusk, and I'm actually on an old, I don't think you see it, an old wooden bridge that's only really used by the farmers nowadays, going across the River Don, which you can't even hear, it's so quiet, it's weird. And I don't know how, but here there's zero wind, but there's a lot of trees over there, I guess, sheltering me from the wind. But yeah, going out into it in spits is really strong, like good 20 mile an hour anyway, gusting. And then you get into the trees and it's dead calm. This is the joys of gravel riding, and yeah, at night as well. But yeah, just generally gravel riding. You can just get away from all the elements, and I'm roasting hot, really warm. So I tend to find that if you're out on the road bike, it feels like, oh, a couple of degrees colder anyway than what it does on an equivalent night when you're going off road. But yeah, really quiet. It's so quiet, and it's like, this is the moments when you really don't want to hear any noises, like voices or rustling in the bushes or footsteps on the bridge. That wouldn't be good, but fortunately you can zoom away on the gravel bike, so it doesn't really matter. Right, carry on. I think I've done, I don't know, 20 odd miles, I'm not sure. Just enjoying it really. I'm glad I took yesterday off, and yeah, feel great just now. Right, onwards and probably a bit upwards as well, get a bit of climbing in. Ta-da. Another quick pit stop, check-in. I forgot to ask a question at the last one, and that is about night riding. Is night riding, going out for a ride in the night, that is, on a bike, nothing else, is that something you guys out there currently do? Is it something that you don't do because you just don't like the idea of it? Or is it maybe something you'd like to do but you're kind of not sure how to get into it, maybe a bit wary, don't have a pal to go out with or something like that? Love to hear your comments on it. I personally love going out for a ride at night and stopping by places like this. This is Blairdaff Kirk, I think is what it's called, but it's a Commonwealth war grave. It's an old cemetery, and that's a derelict church, or a kirk as we call it in Scotland. And yeah, I guess to a lot of people this would be like super scary and spooky, and like it's totally quiet. There's like noises over there, which is probably some sort of animal, I don't know, or leaves falling off a tree. But personally I love it. I think it's great. Totally quiet. You can hear yourself think. And well, here in Scotland we're blessed with all this wonderful history that you can go out and explore, and it's totally different at night than in the day. I pass this all the time on day rides, but come here at night, stick the lights on it, it's got a totally different mood. So anyway, let me know your feedback about riding at night, and if you've got any questions, let me know. If there's anything I can do to help you maybe get out on your first night ride, I can even do another video about it, or just answer your questions, whatever. Let me know, stick comments below, and remember to like and subscribe. Right, time to carry on.
Shh, quiet.
What was that? I think they want me to keep the noise down. Final in-ride pit stop for the night. I'm about 32 miles in, 2.25 hours, and about 1,700 foot of climbing. Just taking it super easy, no stress, but go and I got it right. That's weird. I'm started speaking and then somebody starts speaking, there's a loudspeaker up there. He's telling us all about trains and COVID and key workers, and it's like, it's 10:30 at night. I don't think anyone cares. Anyway, so yeah, final stop. When you're out training, why not come where all the trains are? This is Invaruary train station, right next to my favourite coffee spot, or one of my favourite coffee spots, close by my house, Invaruary Garden Centre. It's all here, Invaruary Garden Centre. Cracking place for a coffee. They do really nice illy coffee and fantastic cakes and great soup and all the rest of it. Spend quite a bit of time in there. So probably, yeah, keep going. I'm really enjoying it. It's been a great evening. Really warm. It's windy, but actually mostly I've been out of it, or I've had it on my back. It's been really good actually. And most importantly, feel good. Don't have that whatever it was I had a couple of nights ago, feeling ill. So, you know, you can have all the plans in the world, but at the end of the day, you have to listen to your body, and if your body is telling you no, don't push through it. But particularly when you're training, you know, if it's an event or something like that, you know, you need to push through the pain. That's what it's all about, because then you can rest afterwards. But in the run up to an event like this, particularly like just under a week out like I am, all the proper work should have been done ages ago. So I could not cycle at all this week probably and still get on fine at the weekend, but I just wanted to get some time on the bike, mainly just to keep the legs and everything and the sort of mind muscle connection going, and also it's kind of important to keep your backside trained, because if you stay off the bike for too long, when you jump back on, that's the worst thing. You start to get a sore butt. So anyway, get a few hours in tonight, going away with the wife for a night tomorrow, so probably won't get any more rides in, apart from maybe a short one Thursday night. But it's not a big deal. Feeling good, feeling ready. The weather's looking not bad at the moment. It keeps changing, but if it's like this, even if it's windy, I'll take that. If there's no rain or little rain, that'll be ideal. So that's enough yabbering. Gonna leave you with this view of the train station here. It's really nice at night. And this is what you miss out on if you don't go out and do night rides. You don't even have to go out into the countryside. Just go around your honestly, one of the best things about night rides actually, and also even on a road bike, but particularly on a gravel bike, is you can go exploring all the streets and go to places like this. You don't have to go out into the countryside. You don't have to go out into the darkness. You can have a fantastic ride just zooming about your local town. There was one day I did a ride at night and the weather was terrible, but I really wanted to go out. It was raining, and I decided to cycle all the streets in the town that I live, Cannondale, and it ended up being like a 28-mile bike ride. And it was amazing fun, and it was lashing a rain the whole time, and I just had an absolute ball. So maybe that's a trick. If you're thinking about going on a night ride and you're not sure, you don't want to go out in the dark and all that stuff, just stick to your town, stay in the streetlights, stay safe, and just zoom around all the little lanes and all the car parks, shopping centres. It's brilliant fun. Give it a try. Right, I'll catch you at the end. Ta-ra. Another train station. This time with a train. This is Cannondale. See a few foot getting off the train, look. Choo-choo. That was good timing actually. I'm just literally finished my ride, but I thought I'd stop in by quickly before I get home in about 5-10 minutes. Right. Let the train go. The boy's wondering if I'm getting on. Right. See you, train. Couldn't have planned that better. Tell you what, it's got a cracking tailwind. Cannondale, the place I call home. Ooh, owl. Ah! This is Cannondale Woods, a tiny little wood right in Cannondale. Got a few good segments on it. Fortunately, I think I currently hold all the KOMs, but it's tough because it's so popular with people walking and what have you. It's really difficult to get a clear run, so it's not necessarily that I'm the fastest. I'm just maybe the luckiest or had the best plan, because I tended to do them at times like this when it was late and empty. Obviously it's a bit trickier with it being dark, but I've been around it a lot, so I kind of know it like the back of my hand. And knowing that you're not going to see any people, and if you do, they tend to have lights and that anyway, so you can see them a mile off. So it's quite easy to batter out a quick time in the dark versus in the light, which is another benefit of night rides. You can typically see other people, and if you're out on the road, you can see cars a mile off because you see the headlights. So it's actually a lot safer, I would say, than riding in the day, because there's a lot more traffic and you can't actually see what's coming up behind you, whereas in the dark you can. You can see a mile off if there's a car coming. If you so choose, you can pull over, or what I tend to do is before a car's coming, like when it's miles off and it can start to see me, I pull out more into the middle of the road a bit, wiggle about a bit, just make myself visible, and then as the car is approaching, I sort of pull into the left a bit, just in case, you know, they haven't seen me or what have you. But particularly if you're going around like a corner, so if you're going around like a left-hand bend, you've got to bear in mind that a car might not see you till the last minute, so you're much safer to ride out towards the middle of the road. And if there's nothing coming the other way, I mean, there's nothing to stop you riding right over on the other side until the car gets a bit closer. Keep an eye on it, and then as it gets closer, and let's say you're on a corner, you can sort of adjust your position based on whether you think the car can see you or not. So as the car is getting closer, gradually start to pull over to the left until, you know, that's kind of when it's right on you and it can definitely see you. So these are all things to bear in mind for night riding, comes in at planning. But I'd say overall, if you can get your head around being out at night, then it's actually very safe. Very safe. Right, final wee hill to home, and then I'll do a wee roundup of the trip, of the ride. So you can kind of see what's going on there. 41 miles, just coming up on 3 hours, 2,000 foot of climbing. That's got me the climbing challenge done this month, which I've done every month for the last, I don't know, 18 months or something. It's quite good. 7,500 meters a month minimum. Average heart rate 134. That's like a really low effort for me. Could just carry on doing that non-stop pretty much. Haven't really had to take on a lot of fuel, like half of what I might take on if I was, you know, pushing a little bit harder. So yeah, not bad speed, 14 mile an hour. I'm on a gravel bike, going off the road, and stopping and starting, and taking videos and seeing the sights. So a real gentle ride, and now we're all done. What fun. That's training ride 3 done and dusted. 3 hours, 42 miles I think. Main thing was just getting the 3 hours. Really enjoyable ride. Yeah, had a great time. Really needed that. Actually, really needed it. So anyway, it's been quite a long video I think so far. I've stopped a lot and talked a lot of rubbish. So yeah, saw some rabbits, saw quite a lot of bats. That's one thing you see a lot at night rides, which initially is a bit freaky, but actually they're cool little things. They love the lights on the bike. And lots of little wee rodent-y things running across the road. But didn't see no ghosties, no monsters, no axe murderers, no werewolves, nothing like that, which is, that's a bonus. So yeah, so all in all, a good night ride. So I'll sign off with a bit of the local tongue here in Aberdeenshire, Doric, and say I had an awful lot of fun louping about in the puddles. I'm nae awful puggled, but I will have to get gone because I really need to get inside and give my bricks a shuggle to get all the dubs off. Ta-ra, cheers and quines.